video game console.
You know, it's funny though. I read an article in the Times maybe a month ago about how, like, you can hack the video stream.
Yes.
You can't really hack Control.
It was done.
Most of that stuff uses off-the-shelf technology.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they're building it, part of their cost analysis is whether or not they have to design new materials or they can use just off-the-shelf technology. And one of the problems with using off-the-shelf technology in military applications is that usually there are many ways to exploit the availability of the information about that technology. It's pretty easy to hack something if you can go buy it at Radio Shack and puzzle it out. You know, and that's like with, it's funny because, I mean, I think a lot of things tie together. And so with art, you know, I'm most impressed with art that I can't figure out how to hack. And what I mean by that is that I'm most impressed with art that I can't figure out how it's done.
Yeah.
Or if I try to duplicate it, it's so impossible for me to do that I then accord the artist a lot of respect. And I think a lot of Renaissance masters, their artwork is incredibly difficult to copy.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the vast majority of what we find here in Kansas City's art scene, pretty easy to duplicate.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's just kind of, and I mean, not to be negative, but I've always said that Kansas City is really kind of the Special Olympics of art scenes. I mean, we do a lot to support it, but we're supporting the Special Olympics of art, really. We don't support mastery in this town.
Well, I think that there are people who are doing that, but they're doing it quietly and on the fringes. And the people who are making the most noise are the people who have to make the most noise. What was it on your Facebook thing? How to hack artists?
Oh yeah, right. Well, if you want to start an art movement, you know,
hack off the hack artists.
Yeah, anger a lot of hack artists, and you know, like suddenly an art movement will start.
Oh, here
Now
we go.
it may look like a bowel movement. Oh, hey, we've got viewers do not have to log in to talk in this channel.
Yeah, I turned that off earlier today. Thought it might make it more interesting. You'll get a lot of anonymous trolls.
Better to keep your mouth closed and let them think you are a fool than to open it and remove all doubt. Well, you know, that's true. 2 + 2 is 5.
We got a stolen car here. Ooh, we got a guy being put in the paddy wagon. Oh, 2 guys being put in the paddy wagon. Hi, guys.
Is a demonstration of Wirecast.
You're on John TV.
John TV.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people, it's funny, I mean, I think we live in a culture now that's so politically correct that people are really afraid to confront anybody about anything. They'd rather just blow smoke and be, oh, it's all good.
But
like
there's all this
valid.
confrontation going on right now in Kansas City, you know, especially with the mayor. But yeah.
Well, in the political arena, you definitely see confrontation. There's more to be won or lost there. But, you know, in the art scene, there's confrontation. I mean, I think, if anything, you've got a lot of untalented people who are really afraid of allowing really talented people into the milieu because they will be shown to be hacks. That it'll be easily recognized.
That's not so much in a negative light, but isn't that sort of what you and Jessica are trying to do with let me get it right, because I always say the pie gallery. I don't know why. It's been on my mind. But the keyhole gallery.
That is, well, you know, at the keyhole gallery, we don't turn anyone away.
Yeah.
And so what we want is for the public to have an opportunity to digest the full range of what's being produced. And I think what you discover is that the majority of people understand what's difficult to duplicate. I mean, what the majority of the untrained people who come in to view art sense is the difficulty of rendering what they're seeing, or the difficulty of creating the object that they're looking at.
To break it down in more simpler terms, I think that the average person understands good composition and bad composition. That goes back to what Da Vinci, who figured out that he spelled out what the rules are, but the average person understands the rules without necessarily understanding the rules, you know, and understands the difference between good and bad. You know, if there's the technique and the once you get past the technique, the first thing we take in is composition, and you know, the color schemes and everything.
Right.
If
And
it's technically right, we will like it. It'll pass the first muster, and then the second one is the subjective. Is the subject matter interesting to me?
Well, you know, I think one of the things is, like, let's go grab all the art stars we know and separate them, put them each in a cubicle, and ask them to draw the Fibonacci sequence. I think a tiny minority of them would come out with it drawn correctly. And yet what Da Vinci recognized immediately is that the Fibonacci sequence is everywhere in nature, and it's one of the most pleasing things to the eye. And so he embeds it in a lot of his work. That's not an accidental gesture.
Well, I'm going to have to study what the Fibonacci sequence is.
Well, you know, it's just
Jessica mentioned it the last time we were in the car.
right. It's a series. It's weird because it's like 1. You start with the number 1, and then you put another 1 next to it, and then 1 plus 1 is 2, and then 2 plus 1 is 3, and then 3 plus 2 is 5,
Of Wirecast.
and then let's see, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8, 8 plus 5 is 13, and it goes that way. And then those are measuring the longest side of a square. So it's this spiral. You see it in the florets of daisies. You see it in seashells by the seashore. And so you see it in a lot of the structures of the universe. You see it in galaxies, in the spiral arms. And so there's this mystery as to why you see the Fibonacci sequence embedded all throughout nature. There's no real answer to that. But one of the things that has been discovered by artists through time is that if you embed the Fibonacci sequence in the way that you create your composition, people generally find the composition more pleasing. And I think a lot of artists today aren't being taught these basic rules, if you will. I mean, there are no rules. Nothing's hard and fast, but but artists don't even know what it is.
Your gallery here.
The keyhole. 1903 Wyandotte, where no artist has ever been turned away. And yeah, and there's been controversy lately, and you know, the beauty of it is that out of the controversy of the last show, all the artists landed a much better space. I mean, arguably, they landed a space that they, I don't think, independently would have ever been able to land. The Lady Vulcus. And one of the things I said is that it's an old saying that my grandfather told me, is that if you kick a mule in the face, sometimes it pulls twice as hard as you ever dreamed it would.
Yeah.
And you know, like Mikhail Shapiro, she pulled for those artists. And I think she feels like she got kicked in the face. And I'm not necessarily going to say that she wasn't. But, you know, that's...
But the controversy there is that she may feel like the people doing the kicking was you and Jessica.
Well, yeah, I took the show down. And I was going to allow people to see it, but, you know, she wanted to break in the middle of the night, take all the artwork, that's fine. If she felt it was damaged, my insurance would have covered it. But we never really had an opportunity to figure that out. Because she came and took the work.
Breakdown in communication?
Yeah, it was a breakdown in communication.
I'm sorry to hear all that.
But the thing is that a lot of times, out of tragedy or however it's being spun, something really positive happens that would not have happened otherwise. The fact of the matter is, hardly anybody was going to show up to see this show on successive Saturdays. Not that many people were interested in it. The art was okay, but a lot of it was just doodles on paper. These weren't artists who were taking the challenge all that seriously. These were friends who had an opportunity to hang out and do something together. And that's great. I'm all about that. But I didn't really feel moved by it. And now it's landed a preeminent space. None of this would have happened if people's feelings didn't get hurt, if their toes didn't get stepped on. And so, you know, that's what I mean by kicking a mule in the face sometimes. Sometimes people go way beyond what they ever thought they were going to do because they feel offended. And you know, Friedrich Nietzsche, I never know how to say it correctly.
Yeah.
But
Say, not only were they offended, but it became a challenge.
Right. He said that people who have nothing to live for, that the smallest little thing will defeat them. But people who have something that they're driving toward will overcome the most insurmountable obstacles. And so I think, you know, Mikhail was striving for having these artists represented, that she was really upset. And so she conquered that mountain, you in a way that no one anticipated she would. Kudos. I applaud that. Today's her birthday, actually. Wish Mikhail a happy birthday. I've known her for a long time.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm hoping this is not the end of a friendship.
Oh, no way. It's the beginning of a tryst. I'm a bit, like, my personality, I'm somewhat caustic. I mean, I'm a writer, and I've discovered that sarcasm,
Wirecast.
you know, is kind of my sharpening stone. It keeps my
So now we're passing
intellect
by
sharp.
leading vocalists here.
Yeah, and I mean, man, it's hard to get in this space. I would bet that no more than maybe one of the artists in the show that was at the Keyhole have been in the leading vocals. Maybe
Oops.
none of them.
I can't seem to get it. Oh, that's why. Is there anybody behind us?
Oh no, I think we're clear.
Oop.
This is a
There we
demonstration of
go.
Wirecast.
Yeah,
The front cam.
the leading
Leading
vocals
vocals.
here.
And,
It's a great
what's-
space.
Is it Jim Lee or
Jim Lee, yes, he kind of was he was early in the scene. I think he came down here in the 80s when nobody was doing anything down here. And
this is pretty much where the crossroads started.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, artists, I feel, have always gravitated towards spaces with large ceilings. This guy's bringing a seat.
This is a demonstration
And,
of Wirecast.
And artists love big, wide open spaces. I don't know many artists, maybe only one, who seems to work well in small, confined spaces. I think that the artists generally have big egos, and they need big spaces. I think those things go hand in hand.
I don't know.
I mean,
I think a lot of art is big, and back when I went to art school, which a lot of people don't realize that I actually did, seemed like back in the 80s and early 90s, all the professors wanted you to go big. They wanted you to fill the space and challenged us to go big in our artwork. Use a bigger canvas, bigger piece of paper.
Yeah, right. And I mean, it's kind of like with anything. I don't, like, if you want to express a thought, sometimes you need 1,000 words. But if you can express the same thought with 100 words, you might be more effective. I mean, if you are trying to convey a feeling or an idea or a situation, then you may need a large canvas. But if you're just being told to use a large canvas because that's the right thing to do, then that's not correct.
Yeah.
It's like saying you need to add 500 meaningless words to this text in order for it to meet some arbitrary definition of the correct length. I don't think artists need to be hemmed in like that. I don't think you can't really. I mean, there is something about tackling the scale. I mean, I understand it's like, you know, you should feel comfortable working in any size, but it's not the size that makes
I think
or
maybe
breaks
that's
the
what
art.
they were trying to get us to do, because, you know, in high school, you were limited to a certain size because of, you know, that's the only thing you could get at the local art supply store. And I think they were trying to get us to go, okay, you need to be able to do anything in any scale.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, everybody. That's what I'm saying. People should. But it's like if you're trying to paint a daisy on a summer day, then, you know, maybe 14 by 20 canvas is what you need. But I mean, there's got to be a reason for choosing the canvas. I mean, it can't just be that, oh, this is. I mean, you can do it randomly if you want. I mean,
Well, in television, we call it motivation.
right. But I mean, like, if you're trying to carve a 4-inch tall elephant, if you're a sculptor, you're not going to go buy a 40-inch tall piece of granite.
Yeah, no.
I mean, unless you might end up with a lot of spare granite, but let's say that if that's in the center of your granite, then you're just going to have all this waste, right? You're going to have all this unnecessary work, and so that's what I mean. Now, art isn't the
Of course,
most,
it may take that big a piece for you to get it right.
especially if you're a hack, which, you know, again.
Well, I think
feel
what
like
makes a lot of people hacks is an attitude, not necessarily a limitation in talent, but it's an attitude that I think the last time we were together, I talked about one of the attitudes in art that really pissed me off, hacked me off, was the attitude that it's an easy A, that the art life is an easy life. I'm going to cruise through life